It appears the proposed merger between Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern is back on track tonight after an amended application was filed. UP says this gives more information that was requested by the Transportation Board. They rejected UP's initial application in January, calling it incomplete.
Regulators wanted to know more about how the deal would affect the competitive balance between the 5 remaining major freight railroads. UP claims this would add more than 300 jobs than the original projections. If approved, the $85 billion deal would create the country's first transcontinental railroad company. The Surface Transportation Board has 30 days to accept or reject this new application. Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen is in favor of the merger, saying, quote, "This is about giving farmers more control and greater flexibility, whether it's responding to weather, adapting to shifting export demand, or managing tight harvest windows. Better rail service leads to better outcomes."